他的几个精准的时机判断，要开现在就开，队友全部跟上，全部都给他打下来了。我感觉。
对的，黄子昨天执行力特别的棒，每次都是inside配合发条的大招，要么就是打死对面的狐狸，要么就打死对面的卢仙，每次的开团非常的果断。
其实，经常看 OGN 的同学可能都会比较了解 inside 本身。以前在韩国的时候，就是以开团比较厉害著称的，只要是他开的团，90%都胜了。
狮子狗这个英雄应该也是inside在那个欧金当时应该是冬季赛的时候率先使用的，所以他对这个英雄的理解是非常之深的。
And hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the LPL. It's the League of Legends Pro League here, broadcast in English on Twitch TV. My name is Rapid. I'm here with Nero, and we'll be breaking down 2 best of 2s for you guys tonight. It's LGD taking on Young Glory for our first best of 2. And the second best of 2 will be World Elite Academy, coming off of their first and only 2-0 victory yesterday versus Young Glory. Of course, they'll be taking on the Giants Powerhouse, first place versus last place, or previously last place. OMG will take on World Elite Academy. So, some good games tonight, but once again, some interesting predictions. 1-1s across the board for all 3 of the Chinese casters. And, you know, normally I would have said 2-0 EZ for LGD, but Young Glory have been looking pretty good, with the exception of yesterday's games versus World Elite Academy.
Yeah, so it pretty much is. You'd usually say it's 2-0 for LGD, but lately you would say that it's 2-0 for Young Glory. But right now, after the yesterday's game of Young Glory, you could say it's a 1-1. But yeah, pretty much that's the situation in the whole LPL. Every single team can get a game from another one, and in the standings right now, everyone can get out of relegations or get into relegations or get into the playoffs, and there's a big mess on top of that.
But it is not going to be easy for Young Glory to do that. They're sitting at a 29% win ratio right now. And with wins, you can see them on their scoreboard. Win versus World Elite, 2 wins versus EDG, and then 2 losses versus World Elite Academy. They are the complexity of LPL. They win versus the top teams, they lose versus the bottom teams, and they're going to have to take on LGD tonight for a chance, a very slim chance at escaping relegation.
Yeah, of course, World Elite Academy, they have the slimmest chances of escaping relegations, but Young Glory, they definitely do have a nice chance of taking this one, but they do have to win at least 1 game against LGD right here. But on the other hand, LGD, to be comfortable in staying in the LPL and going into the playoffs, they have to get a 2-0 right here. They cannot lose against Young Glory, so both of the teams will be definitely desperately trying to get a win.
Right, and it's really complicated the way that the playoffs situations work. Essentially, Young Glory have to win just like as many games as they possibly can. But more importantly, they have to make sure that LGD win as few games as they possibly can. If Young Glory 2-0s right now, then LGD can only get 1 more point in their series versus EDG and World Elite. So at that point, Young Glory would go into sort of a weird tiebreaker situation against LGD, and then they would have to win that as well to make it into the playoffs. So pretty complicated, but essentially, Young Glory has to do super, super well. LGD has to not do very well, and continue to not do very well in their previous games. Of course, like I said, they have 3 series to play this week. So finishing off, of course, their lineup with Yansur. He not necessarily a pioneer of the Alistar, but he's a big fan of it on support. Of course, a couple of games there that were actually victories. Actually, 1 game victory versus EDG, and then of course a 2 games lost versus World Elite Academy yesterday. So that's going to do it for the Young Glory roster. Keep in mind, sub 30 or around the 30% mark for their win ratio this season. They'll be facing off against LGD. Now, talk to us about LGD a little bit, Nero, and where they've kind of their travels through this season.
Yeah, so that is the important thing. If you look back at the previous records of both of the teams, here you go. It's 41% for LGD. It's actually quite good, but right now they haven't had any success lately. There's a tie against Invictus Gaming, but they lost a 0-2 against OMG. While on the other hand, if you look at Young Glory, they have won 2-0 against World Elite, 2-0 against Edward Gaming. So in terms of what happened recently, Young Glory should have a big edge, but LGD are the bigger team historically, actually.
Yeah, and LGD, you can see starting off from the bottom lane, it's not really a mystery what they play. Like PYL, Thresh, as many games as he can possibly get it for. And this guy right here is, I want to say, kind of the backbone of their team. I feel like if LGD do in fact make it to Worlds, it'll be off of XQ desperately trying to carry them there.
Yeah, we'll see. They actually have a slim chance of getting onto the Worlds, onto the playoffs overall, and it's just my feeling, but they feel like LMQ when they were back in LPL. They are sort of the team to just stay in the LPL, not the team to go into the playoffs and try to go for the Worlds. They are the guys that are in the middle of the standings, and they are okay with that, and they will always be there. Like, they can beat some top teams, but in the end they will also lose to the bottom teams, and they will stay in this 4th or 5th place or 6th one.
Jwen there in the jungle, and then finally finishing things off in the top lane with 17. 17 has actually not been looking that bad. He hit a big struggle mid-season when LGD were just like throwing games, winning games. It was all over the place. It's kind of been the story of their season, but 17 has been looking okay, especially in their last game, which I believe was a victory versus was it IG? Last team they played, I want to say it was. Yeah, so coming off of a win, and they faced probably one of the easiest opponents they could possibly play here in either World Elite or World Elite Academy or Young Glory. So this should be a win for them, but all the commentators predicting the 1-1. So still hope left in Young Glory after some very impressive performances last week, beating the top teams in LPL.
Yeah, and this is the key thing. Like, they were nothing at the very beginning of the season. No one even cared about facing them because it was a free win. Then they picked up some very important matches against OMG, World Elite and Edward Gaming, the top 3 teams in the whole China. But once again, they just come back to being in this sort of a sleepy state of mind in the yesterday's best of 2.
Alright, so a sleepy state of mind yesterday. I feel like that's being a little bit kind. Young Glory, I'm trying to think of their accomplishments in their previous game. It was not an incredible list of them. And there is a reason that they do come into this with around a 20 to 30% win ratio. Mostly, I feel like inconsistency is not specific enough of a word. Essentially, it revolves almost completely around their mid lane. If they get Diangun fed in the mid lane, and they have a lot of great strategies to do it, then that's like step 1. And then after they win step 1, they have to close out the game. And in their games versus World Elite, versus EDG, and even the one game that they took off of OMG, they did exactly that. They did a step-by-step methodical process. It's like, all right, we win the mid lane, we camp it out, we get a good counter pick, and then we go from winning our lane phase to closing out the game after that. And the last half is actually a bigger mystery to a lot of teams in LPL, LGD included. It's how do you both get a victory in the early part of the game and then use that to close out late. LGD's victories, I feel like most of them have been losses early game and then comebacks in the late game, especially their series versus IG, both the one most recently played last week and then, or not last week, but the previous series that they played, and then of course the one before that as well. So closing out the game, going to be the story of tonight's best of 2.
Yeah, and talk about Diangun, he got some nice counter picks yesterday, but they didn't really work out. So Young Glory, maybe the teams in the LPL finally started working out their tactic, and going up against it isn't as hard as it was.
Well, of course, keep in mind, coming into tonight's games, we talked about Young Glory and what they had to do to make it to, or make it out of relegation, to escape relegation. For LGD, they can actually still make it into the playoffs, and they play 3 best of 2s this week, and if they win every single game, then they're in. But keep in mind, so here's what they have to do. If Young Glory 2-0s LGD, then they're out of the playoffs. They'll stay in LPL, but they won't be able to make it to Worlds. And keep in mind, there's also a lot of other issues with them making it to Worlds as well, because their AD carry is only 15 years old. So under the 17 age limit for players, you would not be eligible to participate. So still a lot of struggles ahead of LGD, even if they do take this series.
So actually a weird question arises right now. Is 17-17?
I would certainly hope so. I mean, I feel like if I'm 12 years old and I pick a name 17, that's not very fair to everybody else watching. So, but keep in mind, 17 has had that name for a while, so the question arises, you know, has he had that name for a long time? Chances are he'll be good to go, and I think he is definitely good to go. The only issue is with XQ.
Yeah, and actually there was STYZ, but he got sadly banned, and now we have XQ. So
the struggle of STYZ. Styles is, yeah, he has bigger problems than the age limit.
But actually, it's not just about STYZ. The struggles of LGD acquiring a constant AD carry that can be with them for the whole time. Because as you said, if they qualify for Worlds, XQ will not really be able to make it.
It's true, and actually when they were showing the IDs on the screen, it was just different characters up there, so we'll have to keep an eye on that. So for LGD tonight, their big the big thing that they have to prove is whether or not, like, they have to make us feel really good about ourselves, and taking out Young Glory is a good way to do that. However, it's something that none of the top 4 teams or top 3 teams in LPL have been able to do. I mean, OMG split 1-1 against them, and so when that's what the best team in LPL can do against them, you start to have a lot of faith in Young Glory. And then you watch games yesterday, and maybe you lose that faith, but Young Glory, we'll see if they can smash the dreams of LGD, keep them out of the playoffs, or if LGD can push Young Glory all the way back into relegation.
What is 100% sure right now is that they will try. And well, if they are in their top form at the moment, they will pull it off. But if they are not, then they're back to being the former Young Glory, and they will just stay in the 7th place most probably for the rest of this split.
Yep, that is true. Keep in mind, win rates between these teams are very, very one-sided. I believe it's a 61% for LGD, 13% for Young Glory. So, not a matchup that you would expect to be very, very favored. So, expecting the LGD victory, but all of the Chinese casters actually gave it a 1-1. So, still hope there. Young Glory capable of beating the best. Can they beat the rest?
That is a very good question. We'll get to see it in just a second, but we have a little bit of tech issues on the venue, so we have to wait a little bit more until the match starts. Unfortunately, because, well, as you said, we are just waiting. Pretty much the first game will tell us the story of the whole best of 2. We'll get to see if Young Glory are in the top form or in the bot form or something like that.
And honestly, you never know which Young Glory is going to show up. LGD, they're kind of consistent as far as the middle of the road has been, but Young Glory have been all over the place. They beat the best, they lose to the worst. It's a giant question mark over them. As we hop into picks and bans here for game number 1 of our best of 2 series. It's Young Glory in the blue on the left side of the screen. You can see doing the banning for them will be number 1, I believe. So talk to me about Young Glory's ban phase and how it centers around their mid laner, Nero.
Yeah, they definitely need to get a counter pick on towards Diangun so they can deal with Wayless, because Wayless actually said that he has a huge champion pool and he is a hard mid laner to deal with. Also, another thing that they have to deal with is PYL, the in-game leader of LGD, so they definitely have to take away this Thresh from him. So there we go, the first ban is Thresh, and there we go, Kassadin. So there's no Riven against Kassadin strat coming in from Diangun as Kassadin got banned.
Yeah, and keep in mind this is the 4.12 patch, so Cassidy not in his final form. I don't think Cassidy will be in his final form for a very long time. So here's the strategy that from Young Glory sort of coming into fruition. You have to ban PYL's Thresh, no questions there, but then it's making it comfortable for Diangun in the mid lane. So they ban out Cassidy, they ban out Ahri, and with the Yasuo already banned by Wayless versus Diangun, it's a big question mark. So what's he going to go for here? Stuff like Ziggs and Orianna are still up, but you can't even think about the mid lane before you think about top. And this is something that a lot of European teams wish they had learned, and that is that you ban Maokai. With the first pick there for #1 in the top lane, it is a big, big takedown for Young Glory.
Yeah, it might be a problem for LGD, but well, they do not really have to worry about this top lane the most, as #1 is not the strongest top laner out there in the LPL. But as you said, there is no Yasuo for Diangun. He may still go for a champion like Lulu. He likes going for these weird picks that most of the mid laners don't usually go for. But
I mean, Lulu loves going for picks anyway.
Yes, but well, Chuan, he will get his Lee Sin. That is also a champ that didn't get banned.
Well, that is true. Lee Sin and Jarvan, two big picks that he's been able to do a lot with. But now it's time to look over to Yin Fu. He's going to grab the Jarvan here, and I really like that pick. A lot of the same strengths and weaknesses between both of them. Both very reliant on landing their initiation tool, whether it's Sonic Wave or the standard knock-up combo from Jarvan. And both with a lot of early pressure, although Lee Sin probably still winning that out. Keep in mind, Lee Sin has not been nerfed on this patch. He still slows the attack speed of jungle camps and has a full 4 seconds on Safeguard, or the shield from that. So, still a very strong Chuan there in the jungle for LGD. Morgana, the lock-in. Now, the question is that versus Alistar in the support role, or is Alistar going to go top lane?
Yeah, exactly. That is the first question. And another one, well, with Diangun being in the middle lane, we cannot really tell that this Morgana is 100% support.
Oh, that's true. It's going to be a weird world out there, especially when it comes to like Black Shields versus Alistars.
Yeah, definitely. And, well, there is an Alistar, as you said, top or bot, and this Morgana. If it goes for the support, actually, Yancer played a lot of Alistar lately, so he might have wanted to pick up that cow.
Zed being hovered over here. Diangun, a big fan of the melee assassins. I've still been holding out for like him to be the bastion of Talon for LPL, but something tells me I don't think anybody's gonna be taking up the Talon mantle anytime soon. But as far as AD assassins go, it's a lock-in on the Zed. He will take that one down. Now, with the Gragas pick, that's probably top lane. I wouldn't put it past Wayless to run it mid, but just given the way mid lanes work, it's going to be top Gragas, support Alistar, and now most likely a lock-in on Orianna for LGD.
Yeah, we could still say if we wanted that this Gragas can as well just go jungle or support still, but nah, it's going to be the Alistar in the bottom, alongside with a Tristana, so a very strong bottom lane. On the other hand, facing off Corki and Morgana, this Morgana is going to be a key thing. If Yancer can land all the black shields at the right time, this is going to be a good time for them.
So coming into the end of picks and bans, just going to trade the champions back away. Overall, as far as team compositions are concerned, relatively strong comfort picks if you look at Young Glory. But LGD have kind of the same idea. Lee Sin, incredibly strong jungler. You've got the ball delivery system working out there. The cow ball working out too. If you want to combo that in with PYL. So I really like the mechanics, the dive, the pressure that LGD can put on. And a lot of their games honestly center on that pressure. Even just skipping the lane phase entirely and going straight to the team fighting with some crazy early roams. So gonna see which Young Glory is showing up tonight as they take on LGD. LGD trying to keep their playoff hopes alive, and Young Glory trying to stay out of relegation of game #1 of their best of 2 coming up here in just a minute. So stick around, don't go anywhere, we'll be hopping into game 1 in just a minute.
那你赢了，哎呀，好开心！
就像抢龙的和打龙的，两个人心态就差很多。
对的。
守大龙的总是压力更大一些。
你看老干爹这个表情是不是很像全队都在守大龙的表情？
绝对是，
足够便秘。好 ，YG 对上老干爹这一场关键 BO2 的第一局，让我们一起拭目以待。
每天睡个饱，还有燕窝蜂蜜柚子茶，蜂蜜带来健康，柚子带来美丽，健康美丽喝小哟，燕窝蜂蜜柚子茶。
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the LPL. It's the League of Legends Pro League, broadcast here in English on Twitch TV. I'm Rapid. I'm here with Nero, and we're into game number 1. Young Glory versus LGD. Like we said, playoff hopes, they're still in there. For LGD, they can still make it to Worlds, but it would take one of the craziest comebacks and turnarounds that we've ever seen in LPL for them to make it there. So struggles for both teams to get out onto the Rift.
Yeah, we'll get to see who manages to win this best of 2, but actually, just looking at the lineup of LGD, they can move Young Glory around as much as they want. Just look at that. There is the Explosive Cask, Dragon's Rage, there is also a Shockwave, Buster Shot, and Headbutts. Like, that's a big amount of displacement right there.
Oh yeah, and Alistar, of course, an expert at moving people around, no matter where he is, so we'll have to see how effective PYL is on that champion. Thresh got banned away, so the first game in 3 that he has played Alistar. He's been getting Thresh a lot, and something tells me LGD aren't going to have that champion any in this series. So, talking about the level 1 starts, it'll actually be standard lane matchups, which is relatively, I want to say that's expected, just because if you look at the 2v2, Corki should theoretically have a stronger early game, especially with Morgana versus the Alistar. There's no real threat from Alistar because of Black Shield, at least once we get back past the level 1 to level 2. So we'll see how this works out. And of course the poke going to be very strong from Corki as well, although the sustain Alistar has should be good enough to mitigate some of this harass.
Yeah, so most probably there's not gonna be a lot of killing action at the very beginning of the game, but the top lane is definitely a thing that we want to be looking at, especially with this Maokai for Young Glory. So that can be the thing that wins YG the game actually, but also Diangun still being the most important member of Young Glory because he's the one that carries the game usually, and we'll get to see if Yanfu camps this middle lane once again.
And that is relatively expectable. Like for LGD, it's not, or for Young Glory, it's not really a mystery how they win their games. They get Diangun fed and they camp out his lane, and then he carries them through the mid game, and hopefully they can come together as a team and close things out later on, find advantages elsewhere. But for this game, it's really more confusing to me about the hyper carry or the carry situation in the bottom lane. Like if you don't pick Kog'Maw or stuff like Jinx, another late game hyper carry versus a Tristana, you just get outscaled, and she doesn't even have to win anything. She can just wait and keep farming things out. Yansir takes 2 turret shots. That will put him very far behind in the life total, where he previously had an advantage.
Yeah, that was an awkward thing because he definitely thought that the minions have already taken the aggro, but they didn't, and there we go. He just has to pop his potion, and it will be okay for now. But they wasted a little bit of an advantage right there, as you said. And talk about wasting, Chuan just sitting in this brush in the top lane, and Maokai without any mana, I don't think that this will work out, and Chuan just had to back away.
So the struggle of being Tren, it's everywhere he goes, nobody knows what's up. It's like either his lane doesn't follow up or his there's not really a gank opportunity. So you can already see he's down 5 CS early on, which is a pretty big deal in jungle in terms of jungle camps because they're worth so much more than lane CS. So he's going to be desperately looking two-man dive in the top lane, but it'll get immediately countered out as soon as he finds Jarvan up there. And he'll actually find him at the white, and I believe that was a white attempt there. Standard over the wall, Chuen can't follow. Very, very close, but big jungle victory for LGD.
Yeah, he used the Q to approach this Jarvan at the very beginning so he couldn't jump over the wall, but it still gives him a lot of pressure right there. And he gets the control over the jungle too. He will get the timers, everything. So that's a nice thing for LGD. Even if he cannot pull off the gank at the top, he can at least just bully the jungler of Young Glory.
Bottom lane trades. And like we said, Corki does have a very strong early game power spike. He traditionally will go Trinity Force first, although we have seen some diversity in builds. Trinity Force is the Corki item. Always has been, always will be. And if he hits that power spike first and can just shove that home versus LGD, really make a big impact, then XQ will never get a chance to get to the late game. The only problem is that actually takes the ability to, you know, say, hey, look, we're forcing this play, we're taking our champion advantage over yours, and using that to establish something that's going to help us close out the game. So it will be about that, closing out the game, which is something that LGD has traditionally struggled with.
Yeah, but if you look at the answer right now, he does have an Ignite versus an Exhaust from PYL, so Young Glory should be looking for an early aggression, but they are not up until now, and that is a big problem.
Top lane, though, I've already got the snare. You can see the consistent aggression. Maokai winning out on the sustain ward, but 17's dishing it out. Now, bottom lane. Yinfu is there waiting. Chuen is standing on top of a ward, and the Dark Binding will miss. That puts Yenser in a horrible spot. He's going to be forced to flash almost immediately. The Death Sentence coming down the bottom lane. It's Yan Gun looking for a kill here on Chuen, who is very, very low, ticking down from Ignite. He dies, and it's going to be Yan Gun. First blood for Young Glory.
Well, the last flash E from Zed made the kill happen. That's a very nice one in Diangon. As you said, there's no camp from Yinfu onto the middle lane to get Diangon fed. Instead, he just roams down to the bottom and gets the first blood. So that still is a good thing to do, to find some kills. And definitely helps Young Glory a lot. Look at the amount of gold that they got from that kill. It's 3 assists, adding to that first blood.
And Yinfu isn't even leaving here. He baits out the entire mana pool of PYL. He tries for the flash knockup from the standard combo, but doesn't get it to land. I think he was doing that kind of as a desperation move. Dark Binding, but a nice jump back from XQ.
He first used his standard knockup and then the flash, so...
It's like,
well,
let me flash just in case there's a tiny bit of knockup left. Ran out of gas there halfway through, so a little bit of a flub from Yinfu, but we'll see if he can come back bottom and redeem himself. No wards, or at least only one ward just recently placed out. We'll try to stop him from being able to do that.
Yeah, but he successfully pulled off one gank already, so that's still kind of okay. But he should be looking for some other lanes finally, because as we said already multiple times in this game, Yinfu should be camping middle lane to get Diangon fed.
Exactly, and that's kind of confusing to me. I think what they're... Oh, the Black Shield is late, and while it will prevent the slow, it's a perfect gank opportunity for Yinfu. Kind of a little bit of a sticky situation using your AD carry as bait essentially there, but that's why Jarvan was waiting around for so long, and eventually, third time's the charm. Gank will pay off.
Quite sure that it was supposed to look a little bit differently, but the answer just didn't have the reaction time to shield on his AD carry as quickly as possible.
Oh, the ward bug again! The green ward can see the pink ward, but the pink ward can't see the green ward. Oh, the struggles of warding that elbow brush continue. LGD lose out.
But they already lost 2 kills, so it's not so good that they even lose in the warding matchups. They're gonna have a little bit of a struggle in this game, but as you said, winning the early game and then winning the late game is 2 different things, because there's XQ, that's the first thing of all, and then the second one is closing out the games that most of the LPL teams have been struggling with.
but look at with all the early strategy from Young Glory, focus like centered on the bottom lane. The idea is that you shove as many people as you possibly can from Young Glory bottom lane and try to keep Tristana behind and keep Corki ahead. But with all that focus, XQ is up in CS, or at least he will be after this wave. He's up in CS versus Zhenlong, and he hasn't died. He has a BF sword, so he's right on track for his power spike with Infinity Edge, whereas Zhenlong, he's like one part of the Trinity Force completed, so I don't know. I don't think the strat's necessarily working well for Young Glory. It's just confusing because they're so used to focusing the mid lane. Top lane, though, 17 is in a lot of trouble. One more auto attack's all it's going to take, but it's not going to come down in time, and it is 17. I think I said 17 was in trouble. It was actually number 1. So, just goes to show if you had a 7 after it, it works out a little bit better.
Yeah, LGD finally get a kill for themselves, and yeah, but in the bottom lane, Zhenlong does have the 2 assists, so he's yet to come back to the base, so I think that he should actually have a little bit of an advantage over XQ, but also, Young Glory already got 2 kills in the bottom lane and they still didn't go for the dragon, so that also is a little bit of a weird thing that they should have gone for a little bit earlier.
It is true, and especially with the duo lanes both in the bottom half of the map, that means we'll actually see a much later dragon than what you'd normally expect. Unless, of course, there's a Shyvana pickup, or, of course, you think of Zhenlong as a dragon with his name there. But either way, it's going to be about 2 or 3 more minutes before dragon becomes an option. And if you look at the ward coverage, Young Glory with tons of wards in the bottom half of the map. Once again, continuing that strategy for this game, trying to focus bottom.
17 is just bullying number 1 right there in the top lane. This Maokai doesn't really seem to be working out. 2 levels of a disadvantage, 1 kill and 30 CS.
Command Shockwave used a little bit ahead of schedule. Deathmark to counter it out, but neither mid laner able to take the other one out. Diangun, though, winning out in the trade.
Yeah, Diangun definitely wins the trade, but it's an ignite in exchange for a ghost, so still nothing big happened, I guess. Because the flashes are still up, so there is the escape potential from both of them.
Potential,
but Diangun
yes.
forces out Willis from the lane, so actually, okay, that is a big thing.
Well, and that's especially big because Zed would traditionally get out-farmed and out-harassed by an Orianna, and so keeping that count close and forcing Ori out of lane is actually something that's pretty hard to do, and he's going to get a big reward off of that. Free trip back to base to buy his Blade of the Ruined King, and if you look at Wayless built first item Spirit of the Spectral Wraith. And this is something that you see a lot of times done on either AP Kog'Maws or Ziggs. They'll build the jungle item because it scales very well. It stacks up as you kill jungle camps. And with Wayless killing off blue buff and both the wolves and wraiths so consistently, he'll actually be able to stack up that Spirit of the Spectral Wraith relatively quickly, get the extra AP, and be able to farm the camps even better.
Yeah, that's really good. It also gives him an additional bit of gold, so wow. That's a nice choice.
Mm-hmm. But it is a power farm commitment. It says, look, we are not looking to make any plays for the first 25 minutes of the game. LGD, they want to take this one late.
Yeah, you can see it, especially with the Tristana and this Orianna going for this item. Why not? That will definitely be a good thing if they manage to pull it off, because actually Young Glory getting 2 early kills, well, you might have a chance of finishing the game before the late game even happens. But still, it's really close in the gold.
Very close in the gold now. Oh, just as I say that, a 100 gold lead for Young Glory. Let's see if that actually matters at all. Like you said, top lane 17 is bullying number 1. Number 1 just straight up forced the flash. He still gets explosive cast. Don't do it. 17, no! Takes him down, makes it look easy. That top lane matchup is going very far in favor of LGD. They will pull back the gold count in the top lane, looking to pull it back in the bottom lane as well. They're doing Dragon on a ward, and I'm not sure there's too much to counter it out as Young Glory cannot get in position in time.
You know, Tienfo's positioning, he was at the blue buff, and why in the world was Diangun also at the blue buff? That is a big question.
Yeah, Diangun can solo blue buff. He has a Blade of the Ruined King, so it's not like he has to worry about taking too much damage. So he just walks to the blue buff, takes it, and you still have jungle pressure. Especially since Zed is so mobile, he can get over to the blue buff, take it down, and then move back to Dragon. Bad timing on that buff takedown for Young Glory, and it'll give LGD an advantage across the map, mid, top, and bottom.
He didn't get this blue buff, but putting two people, as he said, he can solo this blue buff, but Diangun was, Yanfu was there with him. So they lost a lot of pressure, and they lost the dragon, and now it's LGD who come out on top in gold, and as they're aiming for this late game, they might get it a little bit quicker than they really expect, with Young Glory giving them 3 things to get farmed with. Like dragon, like turrets, maybe later.
Yeah, 17 was forced to blow his teleport down bottom lane. It wasn't actually necessary. I don't think that Yanfu actually had a lot of kill potential, but he was a nice, at least, aggression that forced out that cooldown. Because number 1 was forced to TP back to lane. So that actually evens out the teleport timings, despite the disadvantage for number 1 in the top lane.
Yeah, and also, why not? Why not use the teleport if 17 is already bullying number 1 so much? He's up 2 kills. And he doesn't really worry about his enemy top laner going to a team fight, because he'll not really do anything in this team fight anyway. Just has a blasting one and not much else, just a little bit of HP and mana.
I was really excited with this being the 4.12 patch to see more Lucian, because this is the patch where he's just like ridiculous on. Like, he is incredibly strong. But XQ, he's gonna disappoint me, going straight back for the Tristana. And honestly, this should be a game with relatively low kill participation for LGD, because once again, they're committed so heavily to just AFK farming for the first 20 minutes. XQ, though, gets a little bit over aggressive, and he's gonna take half his health before he backs out.
And that was a huge burst of damage coming in from this Corki, but well, still, XQ, as he said, just AFK farming. He's gonna be waiting for this late game, and then it's gonna be Tristana just blowing this Corki up.
Number one's dead right here. 17's gonna blow him up. He's got the dash, the body slam, and it forced the retreat. 1v1 in the jungle, though, as Diangun finds Chuan there. And he's gonna dash right in there. There's 1 kill. Can he find the second? Doesn't have death mark, so no follow-up. Nice kill off the roam. Yeah, Diangun catches Chuan in the jungle.
Yeah, and he did hit.
Oh my god, what are you doing, 17? How do you make that happen? He catches number 1 in the 1v2, kills him, and almost takes down Diangun. 17 was angry. He's just like, you don't come in my top lane and kill my jungler. Takes a kill back.
And that should have even been a kill onto Diangun, but well, the explosive cast wasn't perfect, but it was still really good. And wow, 17 is too good in this top lane, sitting on 3-0 right now. This Maokai got completely shut down. Nothing to do for Young Glory in the top lane.
What is the LGD bottom lane doing right now? PYL just took half his health off of killing 1 pink ward, and then XQ walks forward and takes the same phosphorus bomb Trinity Force auto attack combo that killed him up earlier. 17, he gets it. He's saving his food for later. He put Diangun in the refrigerator. Is like, look, I'll have you for lunch tomorrow. Eats his leftovers, takes it out. The cow combo, in the bottom lane. PYL goes in deep, has his ultimate to block out all the damage. 70 extra ADs. He's gonna get the last auto attack on the Corki. There we go. PYL takes him down. Teleport down to the bottom lane to try to help take out PYL. 17s. This is the body slam. He's got the damage down, but he is very by himself, and he tripped and he dropped his barrel on the ground there. Wasn't able to get the knockback on anyone.
Still, no one can really bring him down right now. This Gragas is gonna be a big thing in the game for LGD. So they have Orianna and Tristana AFK farming to get to the late game power spike, and they already have a Gragas who can really do much.
Deathmark coming in. Command Shockwave's big, but is it big enough? No. Diangun with his 3rd kill of the game.
Well, that is a big difference between LGD and Young Glory right now. We do have a Gragas with pretty much everything on LGD side. And on the other hand, we have Young Glory with a little bit of something on mid, bot, and jungle.
Not that big a difference between the mid laners. Keep in mind, Wayless is going to have a ridiculous amount of money coming his way from all the gold from conservation stacks on Spirit of the Lizard Elder. And just look at the farm. The CS count is way in his favor. He is, what is that, a 50, 60, 70 CS lead almost. Explosive cast from 17, just bullying #1 right now.
It's like, alright, you are running, you can run away, but at least you're gonna lose a little bit of health. Still, it's not too big of a cooldown because he just wasted it in the bottom lane and he already has it up. So he doesn't really care.
17 at this point. He reminds me of the game that Going had for OMG a couple of weeks ago, where on his Shyvana, I think he went like 8-0 and just he got a double kill bottom lane, double kill off of a 2-man turret dive survival in the top lane, and then just carried the game off almost by himself. That's what 17 is doing right now. He's 4-0, has the aggressive mana regen choice from a Morellonomicon. He's not even going the tanky Gragas with a Rod of Ages. He's just going straight up damage, and it's working out.
Yeah, and he doesn't die in a 1v3, so still okay. He doesn't really need this this tankiness. But yeah, the dragon contention will just start right now as it has spawned a couple of seconds ago.
Dragon started out here by LGD. Keep in mind, LGD don't have to take dragons here. They can afford to give them up and just continue the late game farm. But they have to watch out for Diangun, who's trying to flank around from the other side. He's going to come into the shadow. Deathmark immediately onto Wayless. Wayless is deader than dead. Pops from the Deathmark. And now XQ is going to go down in the back, or will he? One more auto attack. All it's going to take the Dark Binding from Yancer. Closes him down, shuts him out, and Young Glory 5 for 2 off of almost exclusively Diangun starting the fight, and Zhenlong there to finish.
Yeah, and XQ got completely caught out of position with a Dark Binding from Yancer, and then Yancer even finished him off with the same Dark Binding. And yeah, Young Glory, they could have focused on the AD carry of the enemy team, but instead they went for a mid laner and they brought down both of them. So a nice choice, nice fight.
Let's watch this team fight. Again, you can see the double engage. You got Jarvan and Maokai, and they both jump in onto XQ. XQ right in the middle of the fight, horrible. And Yancer with a 3 to 4 man Dark Binding there. And the Cataclysm, well, it's cataclysmic. And 1, 2, 3 fall. The Dark Binding for the 4th kill, and the closure. 5. Dead there for LGD. They throw at the dragon, and like I said, LGD don't even have to take the dragon. They can just sit in lane, farm it out, and they'll come out with more gold in the mid lane off of just an incredible CS lead and the jungle camps that you can farm from Spirit of the Spectral Wraith. And they've got XQ, who already was ahead in CS for the majority of the laning phase, and a top lane that's winning too. Like, you don't have to force objectives when you're already winning. Even though they should have won that fight, they underestimated and they got caught.
Yeah, but they got the first dragon, so maybe they thought that, alright, we got the first one, why not get the second one? It shouldn't be too hard, especially with this Gragas being so big and with our mid laner being so far ahead, but didn't really work out. And LGD, they will think twice before they go for this dragon again. But still, there is the Baron, and 24th minute about now, so they should be looking for it, and that's where the game will be turned around or finished off.
Now, one big contrast that might be starting to hurt LGD is, like we said, 17 went for the win lane, win game build, where you build a ton of damage, use it to destroy your lane opponent. But what happens is, as soon as you head into the team fight, your team needs a tank from the top lane, not damage. And while damage is fine, it's great, it's good for killing, when it comes to the team fight, somebody's got to take the hits. And #1 came into that last team fight. He was tanky. He helped his team be tanky with his ultimate, and that helped incredibly well. Whereas 17 came into that fight for LGD, did a lot of damage, and died instantly. So that lack of a tank coming out from LGD might start to hurt them if they keep grouping up.
Yeah, but interestingly enough, Young Glory is still behind in gold, and I expected him to be far ahead. After not only taking a full ace, but also taking the dragon.
Whoa.
But yeah, these are the turrets.
To be real, Wayless has 300 CS at 24 minutes. That's a little bit ridiculous. That's on world record standing for maximum CS. I think the record was 23 minutes. It might even be 21 minutes for 300 CS, but it is damn close to that. So Wayless is on a monster CS lead, 100 CS up over his opponent, 25 minutes into the game.
And having Spirit of the Spectral Wraith in his
Zonya's
pocket.
on a Yancer, got caught out very early. XQ from the back line has just got way too much damage to dish out here. Way less. In the mid lane, not even necessary there. Command Shockwave with a pick. And damage to follow it up.
And it's gonna be a siege from LGD, and with already being up in turrets, they will be looking for even more.
But keep in mind, they have to watch out for Dian-Gun. He's split pushing. He's in the bottom lane, and he's gonna go ahead and throw down the death mark and the assassination onto 17. You have to build tanky. Your team needs a tank. We should be getting a replay there of that bottom lane fight, but Yancer, or Yinfu rather, looking for a knockup, an engage on to LGD. They're just trying to keep him there. They're trying to stop them for the Dian-Gun push, or the Dian-Gush down there in the bottom lane. Even able to keep him from taking that inhibitor.
Yep, but he will not take this inhibitor turret. But yeah, also taking 17 down in the bottom lane, we couldn't really see it. That's unfortunate. Oh,
through
wow.
the black shield. Good God, the damage coming out from Wayless. 325 CS will do that to you when you're this far ahead of schedule. He's got Spectral Wraith, Sork Shoes, Athene's Unholy Grail, Zonya's Hourglass. Like, once this kid picks up Deathcap Void Staff, the world is his oyster. Too much damage from that LGD mid lane.
That was just so huge, and he gets a double buff.
And that was honestly just horrible positioning. Watch this. This is the 1v1 from the bottom lane that we missed. We had Deathmark right into the pop, and you can see it so low on HP, but just 0 tank stats from 17. The burst is all he had, and when he missed it, nothing left. Dian-Gun gonna come into a fight that is his and only his. 1 kill. 2 kills gonna come down as Chuan dies in the back line. No, he actually throws down that FOTM, face the mountain, keeping him alive and allowing him the kill. So Chuan cleans things up from the mid lane, and in a fight that was Dian-Gun's, he just went right into 5 people. Got blown up instantly. It's only Corki left alive.
Yeah, an unfortunate face of the mountain for Young Glory right there. Kept them from killing the jungler. And yeah, as I said, Baron is gonna be where games are gonna be thrown or finished. And in the end, it was Young Glory who lost that Baron fight. So we cannot really pull off the comeback, and now LGD will be quite confident in taking the game. Just look at the turrets are just falling down one by one.
Now LGD are in actually not that bad a position. The flash, the Soul Shackles is perfect way to start the fight for Young Glory. But XQ actually hops over the wall and then flashes back in once he realizes it's time to go man mode. Now Dian-Gun comes in, kills him off, and this is where I thought Dian-Gun was just gonna kill everybody, but with Yancer flashing over the wall, he's just not able to be a presence in the mid lane, and great focus by LGD, 1 by 1, taking out Young Glory, will win the fight.
The deathmark onto Zonia's Oriana, well, that stopped Dian-Gun from doing anything in the fight. Instead, he could have gone for this Gragas, but he already also has a Zonia's Hourglass, so now there is a big counter to this Zed on Dian-Gun. As you said, we need a little bit of tankiness on 17, but actually all that he needed was the Zonia's Hourglass to just stop the damage from the deathmark.
He had a really big weak spot in the mid game where Zed was able to kill him a couple times. So with that Zonya's, like you said, exactly what he needed. And maybe this is gonna shore up that strength that turned into a weakness that is now back in the strength category again. Whereas all you can hope for from Maokai is just tankiness. So tank Maokai, tank Jarvan. You've got semi-tank from Yancer because he has the Zonya's Hourglass. So you have to find the damage somewhere. Corki is not going to step up to a Tristana, and while Zed may be ahead in the one-on-one assassination damage, Oriana's going to DPS your whole team.
Yeah, and if Wayless hits one big shockwave right now, it's going to be the end of Young Glory. And it has happened already. Because in like a fight over the Baron pit, that is an easy skill shot to hit. Especially having a lot of displacement. As I said, you have Lee Sin with the kick, you have Gragas with the barrel, you have everything that you want to be able to position your enemies just as you like.
And while at least during the beginning of the game, Yinfu's map pressure was maybe a little bit greater, he crushed the bottom lane off of like some NASCAR ganks where you just keep going around in a circle. Bottom lane, bottom lane, bottom lane. And it worked out really well. The only problem is it didn't do enough. It didn't get Dian Gun far enough ahead that he was just able to farm Wayless. And so in return, Wayless was just able to farm. Sitting at 300, or yeah, almost, yeah, 300 CS at 30 minutes. Like, or yeah, 400 CS at 30 minutes. I knew I was a little bit behind schedule. Already up to 370 at the 30-minute mark. So pushing in Baron buff in hand, LGD. Looking to start the fight. Explosive cast comes out. That's the beginning. Where's the end? Command Shockwave only hits Corki. He's out of the fight, not dishing out damage. So he's trying to re-engage. PYL's got Corki's number, trying to zone him out. Exhaust in the back line. But actually, Corki's still alive. But the problem is Wayless has too much damage. He's gonna get the speed buff from there. Holy... What the... Okay. Profanity avoided. Check number 1. Check number 2 is Wayless, or Yinfu is just... okay, Yinfu's alive. Corki's down, Morgana's down, and number 1 was the number 1 to go down in that fight. LGD off of 1 incredible burst from Orianna. Wayless carrying that game so hard. Bottom lane, of course, the backdoor from Zed was successful, but not successful enough. Game number 1 goes to LGD.
Alright, so that was an extremely interesting game, and we were confused as to why Yinfu is not camping middle lane, and there you go, that's what happened. Yangon was just too far behind Wayless, and they weren't able to pull off the game, and as he said, the solution is a really strong AD carry right now in this patch, so maybe, but only maybe, Genlock will decide to go for this one, but he's actually just played Kog'Maw lately, not anything else.
That's
so
true.
Maybe Kog'Maw.
I was a little bit skeptical about all that pressure bottom, and it just didn't. It might have put XQ a little bit further behind, but it did absolutely nothing to stop Wayless. And Wayless, for as unglamorous as it is to just rice out the lane, farm it super hard, you don't get a lot of prestige for that, but then you wind up at 20 minutes with 300 CS, and people start to notice the damage. You can see there at the end, I don't know what he did to Genlong, but that was a little bit unfair. So congratulations to LGD. They will take game number 1, looking to 2-0 Young Glory, make their way into the playoffs. So we'll see if their playoff hopes stay alive here as they come into game number 2. Young Glory versus LGD will be coming your way in just a minute.
他的几个精准的时机判断，要开现在就开，队友全部跟上，全部都给他打下来了。我感觉。
对的，黄子昨天执行力特别的棒，每次都是inside配合发条的大招，要么就是打死对面的狐狸，要么就打死对面的卢仙。每次的开团非常的果断，
尤其到了
经常看 OGN 的同学可能都会比较了解 inside 本身。以前在韩国的时候，就是以开团比较厉害著称的，只要是他开的团，90%都胜了。
狮子狗这个英雄应该也是inside在那个欧金当时应该是冬季赛的时候率先使用的，所以他对这个英雄的理解是非常之深的。
And hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the LPL. It's the League of Legends Pro League here, broadcast in English on Twitch TV. My name is Rapid. I'm here with Nero, and we'll be breaking down 2 best of 2s for you guys tonight. It's LGD taking on Young Glory for our first best of 2. And the second best of 2 will be World Elite Academy, coming off of their first and only 2-0 victory yesterday versus Young Glory. Of course, they'll be taking on the Giants, the powerhouse, first place versus last place, or previously last place. OMG will take on World Elite Academy. So, some good games.
I mean, they have the slimmest chances of escaping relegations, but Young Glory, they definitely do have a nice chance of taking this one, but they do have to win at least 1 game against LGD right here. But on the other hand, LGD, to be comfortable in staying in the LPL and going into the playoffs, they have to get a 2-0 right here. They cannot lose against Young Glory, so both of the teams will be definitely desperately trying to get a win.
Right, and it's really complicated the way that the playoffs situations work. Essentially, Young Glory have to win just like as many games as they possibly can. But more importantly, they have to make sure that LGD win as few games as they possibly can. If Young Glory 2-0s right now, then LGD can only get one more point in their series versus EDG and World Elite. So at that point, Young Glory would go into sort of a weird tiebreaker situation against LGD, and then they would have to win that as well to make it into the playoffs. So pretty complicated, but essentially, Young Glory has to do super, super well. LGD has to not do very well, and continue to not do very well in their previous games. Of course, like I said, they have 3 series to play. Like PYL, Thresh as many games as he can possibly get it for. And this guy right here is, I want to say, kind of the backbone of their team. I feel like if LGD do in fact make it to Worlds, it'll be off of XQ desperately trying to carry them there.
Yeah, we'll see. They actually have a slim chance of getting onto the Worlds, onto the playoffs overall, and it's just my feeling, but they feel like LMQ when they were back in LPL. They are sort of the team to just stay in the LPL, not the team to go into the playoffs and try to go for the Worlds. They are the guys that are in the middle of the standings, and they are okay with that, and they will always be there. Like, they can beat some top teams, but in the end they will also lose to the bottom teams, and they will stay in this 4th or 5th place or 6th one.
Jwen there in the jungle, and then finally finishing things off in the top lane with 17. 17 has actually not been looking that bad. He hit a big struggle mid-season when LGD were just like throwing games, winning games. It was all over the place. It's kind of been the story of their season, but 17 has been looking okay, especially in their last game, which I believe was a victory versus games tonight. But once again, some interesting predictions. 1-1s across the board for all 3 of the Chinese casters. And, you know, normally I would have said 2-0 easy for LGD, but Young Glory have been looking pretty good, with the exception of yesterday's games versus World Elite Academy.
Yeah, so it pretty much is. You'd usually say it's 2-0 for LGD, but lately you would say that it's 2-0 for Young Glory. But right now, after the yesterday's game of Young Glory, you could say it's a 1-1. But yeah, pretty much that's the situation in the whole LPL. Every single team can get a game from another one, and in the standings right now, everyone can get out of relegations or get into relegations or get into the playoffs, and there's a big mess on top of that.
But it is not going to be easy for Young Glory to do that. They're sitting at a 29% win ratio right now. And with wins, you can see them on their scoreboard. Win versus World Elite, 2 wins versus EDG, and then 2 losses versus World Elite Academy. They are the complexity of LPL. They win versus the top teams, they lose versus the bottom teams, and they're going to have to take on LGD tonight for a chance, a very slim chance at escaping relegation.
Yeah, of course, World Elite Academy
this week. So finishing off, of course, their lineup with Yansir. He not necessarily a pioneer of the Alistar, but he's a big fan of it on support. Of course, a couple of games there that were actually victories. Actually, 1-game victory versus EDG, and then of course a 2 games lost versus World Elite Academy yesterday. So that's going to do it for the Young Glory roster. Keep in mind, sub 30 or around the 30% mark for their win ratio this season. They'll be facing off against LGD. Now, talk to us about LGD a little bit, Nero, and where they've kind of their travels through this season.
Yeah, so that is the important thing. If you look back at the previous records of both of the teams, here you go. It's 41% for LGD. It's actually quite good, but right now they haven't had any success lately. There's a tie against Invictus Gaming, but they lost a 0-2 against OMG. While on the other hand, if you look at Young Glory, they have won 2-0 against World Elite, 2-0 against Edward Gaming. So in terms of what happened recently, Young Glory should have a big edge, but LGD are the bigger team historically, actually.
Yeah, and LGD, you can see starting off from the bottom lane, it's not really a mystery what they play.